Most people think burnout means you need rest. That's not always true. Back in 2018, I hit what I call a wall. Not the kind where you need a nap or you need rest, the kind where you're driving to work, going over the same intersections you've crossed 1,000 times, and something just stops. For me, almost 20 years in hotel management where people depending on me every single day for directions, for answers, whatever needed solving, I was there. 10, 12-hour days stopped feeling long for me. They just felt normal. And that's what happens when you do something long enough. It stops being a choice and it becomes autopilot until one day I looked up and said, that's it. That's it. I need a break. And I'm not talking about a weekend break or a week. I'm talking about a month, a few months. Luckily, I had positioned myself in a way to be able to do that. And I remember very clearly that day standing in my office, pacing back and forth, trying to make this really hard decision in my life, to leave the corporate world, so to speak. Pacing back and forth in the office was just, my staff was, what are you doing? What's going on? So I had called my friend Will, um, trying to seek for approval to hear if I was making the right decision. I'm not sure. But his answer was so simple and so straightforward. He just said, do it scared. No, do it scared. What can happen? What really can happen? You are a very creative person. You can do this. Do it scared. I miss Will so much. He was gone way too soon. But I get a little emotional there for a second, with remembering him. So that day, I opened Zoom. My boss jumped in and I gave my notice. I got home, and the first thing that I thought was, I'm free. I am free. So I slept. I read books that I've been putting out for years. I even stopped following a plant-based lifestyle because I started eating whatever and anything that I wanted. It was just too bad and too good. I even party like a rock star, so to speak, with one of my very good friends from Wisconsin, Mark. I know you watch him probably. So I even started live streaming horror games because I love horror movies and built a small community and everything was fun and I had a good time, but that was definitely not it. It was fun, but it was not it. But at some point you feel this stillness after having all this free time, so to speak. You feel this void, like something is different. Like I was recharged, but had nowhere to go. And the questions started coming, they started flowing. What am I actually doing? Am I really happy doing nothing? Am I really happy leaving that job? And the most important question was, my bank account is not going to last forever. So I started journaling. Not the kind you did when you were in school, the kind where you ask real questions and sit with the answers long enough to actually learn something about yourself. Questions like, what do I know how to do? What problems can I actually solve? What do people come to me for when they need help? Those are like really important questions I think you have to ask yourself and answer them truly, because the answers started forming something, not a plan, not a business idea, more like a vision, a picture of who I had actually been for almost 20 years. And while I thought I was doing my job back then, working with people, reading situations, moving problems through to solutions, training hundreds of people, not just how to do their job, but how to think about building something for themselves. And there were employees that came back to me months later just to thank me for the guidance I gave them in some way or form in making better decisions. It was always a little sad when they moved on, because that single part, helping people figure out what's next for them, that's the part that I actually loved. And during those quiet journaling days, it just landed for me. It wasn't drained from I wasn't drained from working too hard. I was drained because I had no idea where I was going. Rest had done its job. I felt better. I could breathe better, but I still had nowhere to point to. And that's when I understood something. Rest restores energy, clarity creates direction. Those are two different things. And most people spend years trying to solve the second problem with the first solution. That's why I'm building this platform, Rewire Growth, not to motivate you, not to post pretty quotes, although I do that once in a while, but to help people see what they've been building before they knew they were building anything. Because once you see clarity, or once you see it clearly, you stop feeling stuck. Not because something changed, because you finally know what you're working with. So if you've been taking the break, rested, journaled, tried even meditation like I did, maybe even started something random that turned out to be not your thing, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're just missing structure. And structure starts with clarity. The See It framework is linked below. One sitting, that's it. Clarity comes first, everything else follows.